Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Keith with Dads for Life, and we are here for another Straight Talk with Parents. We are so excited about our guest tonight, and I will get to our guest in just a moment, but I want to go all the way down to Australia to my dear friend, Ariel Wheeler, who's going to tell you a little bit about who she is and what she does. Ariel, take it away.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and co-collaborate with my amazing host and co-host, Keith Giles. I'm so amazed and so excited to introduce Terrence. But first, let's do a little bit of an intro about me. As you know, I'm Ariel Wheeler. I'm an Aussie. I'm from Down Under, as Keith says. So I'm a visibility creator, writer, and coach. I specialize in teaching creative, heart-centered entrepreneurs how to connect, create, and manifest their cash flow by writing programs and courses and creating the visuals for their brands. So it's always really important for us to connect to who we are so that we are flowing authentically. So I'm going to bring it back to Keith so he can introduce himself, and let's get this started.
Thank you, Ariel. Yes, this is Dads for Life. We're here to present Straight Talk with Parents tonight. Ariel and I have been doing this show for, I guess, almost 3 months, maybe 4. I don't know. We lose track of time when we're having so much fun. But both being parents, we are enjoying the time that we spend with other folks who are parents, and also that they're helping a lot of people, especially their children. So we are here tonight to introduce a very special guest of mine. Terrence and I go way back, and what I mean by that is about probably 5, 6, 7 years. We actually go back, and we have a mutual friend, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. But Terrence is he's a father of 4 children, all over the map, by the way, age-wise. A leader, he's a supervisor over a staff at his job. He's a minister, he's a mentor to others, and he's a public speaker. Well, Terrence also does a lot of different things on the side, outside of his job. He's always helping somebody. But I wanted you to hear Terrence's story. Ariel, this gentleman here, you wouldn't believe where he comes from. We're excited to talk about a little bit of his past, but not so much about the past, but what it's done for his future. And that's what we're all about, folks, here on Straight Talk. We want parents to know that you can turn around if you're doing something wrong, you don't know what you're doing right with your children or what you're doing wrong. Sometimes you can just turn it around by just doing the right thing and by listening to somebody else. But we have to swallow our pride sometime and realize there's somebody else that really can help us. But I want to welcome my friend Terrance Hurst to our show tonight. I know your story a little bit, Terrence, but our viewers don't know you. And although we have had a lot of time in the past to discuss that, we don't have a whole lot of time tonight to discuss it all. We may have to have you back in the future, okay? But I know your story, and I want you to kind of come over a little bit with your overview, Terrence, as you take over the mic here in just a moment, and tell us the Terrance Hurst that was and the Terrance Hurst that is now. And then we're going to get into some questions about your kids, okay? Take it away, Terrence.
All right. First of all, thank you, Keith, for inviting me to the show. It's an honor to be on here and to be able to be a guest. Ariel and Glenda, everybody, just thank you so much. The Terrence that I used to be versus the Terrence that I am now. Wow, that's a good because I often believe that, none of us are who we're going to be, but I'm thankful that I'm not who I used to be. I guess, start from my childhood. And I say my childhood only because, I started parenting at an early age. I've been playing this role as a father for a very long time. But coming up, I didn't come up in a conventional or traditional household with a mother and a dad. I was raised by my grandmother, a couple of other relatives, had a little bit of foster care in the mix coming up. And so, but the Terrence I was then, it's hard to define him because I don't think I really, coming up knew who I was. I was still learning. I was still growing. But like I said, being, coming up in a home where you don't have that traditional father and mother, stuff like that, I feel like I was, coming up, raising myself. And so, I didn't really have that influence to keep me accountable, to look at my reports cards and stuff like that. So you can imagine that I grew up, hanging out with the wrong individuals, making the wrong choices. And because of that, it caused me to become a product in the juvenile justice system. But I grew from that, and I was able to, grow up and learn. I moved in the role of a father at the age of 16 years old. And so I didn't know a whole lot. No one ever really gave me the book and say, here, this is what you do. I didn't really have nobody to look at. And so, but I just, floated through life with support of others and, the guidance of, mentoring and things like that. And so as of right now, the Terrance that I am now is well beyond that, because I'm a man. I'm not only a child, but I am a man. I'm more mature. And so, like you say, I'm a father. I'm many things, and I'm those many things on the account of my kids. I want to be able to provide for them and give them the opportunities that I didn't have. So I work very hard. I do taxes on the side. I earn my way into a better position. And so I'm ministering in the local church. I just enjoy helping people because, like I said, coming up, I didn't have a lot of things. And so it gives me a great pleasure to be able to make somebody's life better. I didn't have it, but it's a joy to be able to give it to other people.
Well, Terrance, I know, and I as of age 11, my dad died. I didn't have anybody guiding me except for my mom, and it was very difficult for me. I had no one to mentor me, no one to take my hand, just like the person that took your hand. In a few minutes we'll talk about and the influence that he had in your life. But I know your story really in depth. Would you mind sharing with the audience? I mean, when you don't have someone to really involve, what it could lead you to do?
Well, like I say, it can lead you to do a whole lot of things, particularly mine being a child growing up. You don't have to, and I tell my kids all the time, I tell them, I say, I don't have to teach you to be bad, but I do have a responsibility to teach you to do what's right. Because when you come into the world, you come into the world set into your own ways. But as a father, it's my responsibility to be able to guide you, to be able to, teach you to distinguish the difference between right and wrong. And so I didn't have that. I can go to school and make bad grades. I didn't have no one to come and say, let me see your report card. So, I mean, hanging out with the wrong crowd. I made several bad choices, and it was those bad choices that, caused my life to be a little shaky, as a child. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. Like I say, I made, because of it, I had to spend, several times in juvenile commitment facilities. And so, I mean, as of, going out and having kids at an early age, that's another big, I didn't have no one to sit down and it looks good. Sometimes as a child, children do what feels good, because we go based on what we see. And, you step into this world and then you have all these responsibilities and you created this life for yourself. And then the light bulb come on and you say, what in the world have I gotten myself into? So, I mean, just a whole lot of things from children at an early age to making bad and poor decisions and, a whole lot of things.
Well, and I know we're going to get into a little bit of that with our next question from down in Australia, but, we just had a comment come in on Periscope. I do want to welcome all my Periscope viewers and my live viewers on the web through Twitter and so forth. We welcome you and appreciate you. But we just had a question come in, or not a question, but a comment in talking about, the responsibility of being a dad. Children need fathers that are responsible this day and time, don't they, Terrance?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I want to just reset a moment, Terrance. This is Dr. Keith with Dads for Life. My friend down in Australia is Ariel Wheeler. We co-host Straight Talk with Parents. We also have a Facebook page that she'll tell you about in just a moment, that you can interact with us and you can suggest topics to us and you can be involved with our program each and every Monday night. We're not here to make ourselves shine. We're here to help a parent be able to help that child shine into their future. And that's what we look to do each and every Monday night. We take our time to do this. And we are welcoming Mr. Terrance Hurst here tonight. Terrance has a little background that I think you'll get into right here in just a moment with Ariel as she brings up this next question. So we're going to go all the way down to Australia to my dear friend Ariel Wheeler. Ariel, I know you have a couple questions for Terrance.
Absolutely, I do. We know that, Terrance, that you're a father of 4 precious young children. I would love to know that time that, you felt that you were alone. How did you get through that, and that helped you get to that path that you're on now?
Well, ultimately, I want to say it was God. It was prayer. It was faith. And it was, being able to, organizations like Dad for Life and other, men, who was also father, who you can draw from and, get what you need in order to fight another day. It was a challenging time, but, when you get your strength by seeing other people who've gone through the same thing you've went through, and their testimony, hey, when a person can go through something, come out on the other side and come to you and say, hey, I done been through this, I survived, and you see them shining on the other side, you can't help but have hope, for yourselves. And I think that was one of the good things that Keith offered through Dads for Life. He partnered me with a really great guy who just happened to be going through the same thing I was going through. And, we just talked to each other, and, we had that dialogue, and we just helped each other through it. And like I say, you got to have faith, and, you believe in, a little bit of the past going through what I went through without a father. I was determined to not allow my kids to taste what I tasted. And so, going through it and as a child and, not having that support, sometimes it would cause you to, fight a little harder, to try a little harder. And I learned that if you keep fighting, if you keep trying, sooner or later, it'll pass you by. And that's what happened. I didn't stop. I didn't give up. And as hard as it was, I kept on getting up every day. I kept on loving my children. And in spite of my circumstances, I was not really focused on what I was going through. I was focused on my children. And, before I knew it, I turned around and, it was a brighter day. So.
Brighter days for sure, absolutely. What were some of the things that you got to taste as you growing up? What were some of the things that happened to you that shaped who you are now, that you can share some insight on?
Some of the things that I got growing up, just not growing up into the traditional home, but having other friends who have grown up that way. I mean, those are things that you look at and you can only, ponder in your heart, man, if I had that opportunity. And, all of the negative experiences, the making the bad choices, the, as a child, I've, been in abusive situations where, just because my parents wasn't there or let me hang around anybody, not really being, I guess, how I put it, responsible, like they are. I can't really, express how much, what an impact that had on my life. But I was determined that, when I get this opportunity, I don't know what it's like to live in a mother and a father home. But when I do get the opportunity, I'm going to make sure that my child never have to go through what I went through. I came very close, and I don't really share this to everybody, but I was almost molested as a child because, my mother wasn't there, father wasn't there, and I was, taken to a relative's house to be babysitted because my grandmother had to work. And I don't think no one in my family knew to this day, what I had to go through. I had to, as a child, probably 6 or 7 years old, had to fight off a pervert. And so now I'm very cautious about my kids. I mean, I keep them, in my midst at all time. And when I'm taking them places, I make sure that I do what I got to do to make sure that the places that, I take them at, is the right places and, So, I mean, just all of that, just like I say, having the, and I want to be clear, I don't blame, my parents for the decisions that I made, but, you know, because of like I say, growing up and you don't have that, no one to hold you accountable, it calls you to go down a different path. And so I sit here today and I watch my kids. I mean, I'm ahead of the game. They're going down a whole different path because the age they are now, that's that age when I start going in the wrong direction. And I can sit back and I can see my kids, their interest is totally different than my interest. They're involved in sports and they want to be involved in ministry and helping people. That was not my thoughts. And so that's proof to me that my role, or by me being present in their life, has a positive impact and not a negative one.
That's a good thing, because having a positive change and having a positive attitude can reflect on our children. And I believe that and they'll say it's always easy to have a positive attitude and always be upbeat.
Right.
But it's great that you have that awareness, because sometimes as parents we can be a little bit blindfolded about some of the truths where our children are, what they're doing every day. So it brings me back to this question is, Terrence, how did someone very unexpected named Mr. Jim change your life?
Brother Jim changed a lot because he offered as a substitute what I was missing. And I always say that it's the ingredients that determines the success. And Brother Jim, he came into my life in the form of a mentor. And, he didn't raise me. I was already, raised, and I had, pieces of my grandmother and others, that was imparted in me. But he offered that support. And that's what everybody needs, is to be able to have someone to listen to them, to offer that guidance, not only, spiritual guidance as well as the other guidance that comes along with living everyday life, to have someone to show up when you have your first child to the hospital, and to come to the house when you get your first house, and to be able to fill in that gap, that void. I mean, that really, really helped me, and really encouraged me and strengthened me, I think, as a young man. And because of that, I can't help but to be that support for my child. It's kind of difficult to give them something that you don't have yourself. But, Brother Jim, I mean, we met, when I was making those bad decisions, through me being involved in the juvenile justice system. But, I mean, we're friends to this day. I mean, even to this day, I can call him up, once a week. We can go out and we can have lunch and dialogue. And I think, that's needed. I mean, that positive influence. And, he really fits in that role as a father, because sometimes even when getting ready to buy a home or a car, and if it's a bad deal, he'll tell you it's a bad deal. And so you need somebody to tell you the truth. Hey,
it is one. She decided
so she's
to come in and say, hey,
very
my little
good.
sick girl. So that brings me also to another question, is because we all believe that mentoring in our life has such a positive impact. And I know that you believe in mentoring, right?
Right.
Yeah, so could you tell some of the things that you do, because we believe that mentoring is so important. So I would love for you to share how mentoring has helped you and why is it important to you?
Well, like I said, it helped me because it provided me that support system, that void that I was missing all along in my life. And, when you're going through things, you don't really need a judge. You just need somebody sometimes to listen to you, somebody to be a friend. And I think that what mentoring has done for me over the years, somebody, like I said, I've been through divorce, I've been married, I've, went out and rented my first house, and, that mentoring, just to be there and to be I guess, a accountability partner, about certain things, and, a whole wide range of issues that mentoring can do. And, and I do it. I believe in it. In my church, when a new Christian comes, we pair them with a mentor, somebody just to be there, somebody who you can call and just talk about anything. Somebody, like I say, that you can go to lunch with, that you can talk with about families, and you wouldn't believe what comes up. And, just helping helping that person to overcome the obstacles. Because, you know, in life, you know, none of us can do it all alone. We all need somebody, you know, and to be able to be that substitute, to be that guidance, to be that friend. You know, I think I've been doing it over the years, and some people that I mentoring, I've forgotten, but they haven't forgotten me. And me and my wife is, you know, out on a date or something, and they come up and say, "How you doing, Mr. Hurst?" And I'm looking like, "Who are you?" "Well, you mentored me when I was, you know, in juvenile, and you changed my life, sir." And I can't tell you what that do to my heart. I mean, it makes me really feel good to know that I, you know, change somebody's life by doing what? Nothing but just offering myself. And, you know, my life is better because of all of those men, Keith Jowers, Jim, all of them, you know, just, you know, having that discussion, you know, letting me into Dance for Life and hearing that information. It's like, you know, I can relate to those things. And so, you know, it's just a friendship that really lasts a lifetime. Like I said, they're not there to be a judge or to, you know, beat you because of what you did and what you didn't do, but just to be a friend, accountability partner, somebody to say, you know what, if you need a little help, I'll be your leaning shoulder. And so I received that over the years. And so it would be absolute robbery for me not to be able to give it back. And so, and it's basically, you know, you know, what we do every day, you know, my job, you know, sometimes I have to counsel people and give them guidance and listen to them. And so it really does change people's lives.
Absolutely, because mentorship in any shape or form, whether they're accountability or they're a friend or someone in your congregation that you know, it's always important to have someone there who's got your back, who's going to help you through all of those things. Because I can imagine what it was like being a dad, you know, going through it alone. But I can imagine when I had postnatal depression, which is called PMD, I knew how lonely that was because it's like you were totally isolated. And that brings me back to what Keith always does as well. And he's a great mentor and he's got amazing mentorship programs. He does Dads for Life as well. And I would like to highlight that because Keith is such a great mentor, and you know, Mr. Jim as well as you, Mr. Terrance, is amazing to have people like you in the world who can support people going through the same thing as you that you've done in the past, or just at least give them a guiding hand. So I'm going to bring this back to Keith because I'm sure he has a great question to finish up our call today.
Well, thank you, Ariel, and I appreciate those comments, and as well as you, Terrence. You know, it's just you go through things in life, and just my story. People know my story as well. You know, just coming up by myself, basically, other than my mom, but she was working very hard. So mentoring is important, but I had no mentors, Terrence. I had no one like a Mr. Jim. Nobody took up any time with me. But there was one businessman that gave me a chance to give me a job. And when he gave me a job, he knew I worked hard. And I was watching him because I saw the way he handled money. I saw the way he handled himself. I saw the way his business was growing. And I didn't mind helping him grow that business. But I was only a 17-year-old kid, right? But you watch people like that. And that's why I got online. And I found when online came around, that's when I found out about, you know, the Jim Rohns, the Zig Ziglars, and John Maxwell's, and all those folks out there that help you because mentoring is so important. And we had an online comment come through while Ariel was asking you a question about mentoring, is that you are now paying it forward. And Jim paid it forward because of things that happened to him early in life. And that's what you do in life, you know. I coined a phrase many years ago that said, if you go through life helping only yourself, you'll go through this life alone. And if you do that, well, you're going to be a lonely person when you get older, you know. And hopefully when you're sick in bed and you're about to pass or whatever, you hope you've got some friends around, or at least your family, you know. But then I've known people who didn't have anybody. And it's really sad.
Right.
But what Jim has done was planted a seed in you, and you and I have discussed this. He's planted that seed, and you've gone out and you've helped harvest other people who were drowning basically in their situations, right?
Right.
So, you know, Dads for Life, we say always go out and enhance, enrich, and encourage somebody else, you know, but make sure we start with our kids because they truly need it the most. And I've seen that. I've seen you operate in your children's lives. I saw you online the other night at some event that you were having a good time, whether you were having a good time or not. Those kids were making you have a good time, you know. So that is where I think that you are becoming a true dad for life. I've seen how they act around you, and you know, they just love you. And I know the situation you grew up in, and you had all the right reasons to say, I'm going to do something else totally with my life, but you didn't. And parents, what I'm trying to tell you tonight, and what Terrence is saying, is that even though they're coming up like that, you don't want your children to come up like that. Terrence would prefer that you not let your children come up like that. He wants you to mentor your children. So, Terrence, I just want to refer to you. I know you only got a couple minutes left because you have a child commitment, and that's awesome. But I want you to say this to a parent. I want you to tell them from your heart, what is the one thing that you would have them come to know that you wish you had known growing up from a parent?
Well, just coming up as a parent, I just know that children are a gift, they are a blessing, and they are yours. And so just know that you have the opportunity to be able to make this world a better place. In spite of how your life may have been, you have a second chance, and you have a chance to be able to turn their life into something positive, into something great. And so that's something I see every day. And I tell you, it's a joy. I made a lot of mistakes. And like I said, I started parenting at an early age. So as a child, I didn't have a clue, but I sat there and, I wanted that, to go out and seek. I heard you say that someone gave you the opportunity and you went out and you studied him and you got what was needed to help grow that business. And that's what you got to be able to do for your children. You have to go out and you have to do the work in order to turn their life around. That is not always going to be easy because, like I said, I went through a divorce. I had to struggle, but at the same time, I never lost sight of the fact that these are my children, and that I'm responsible for presenting the world with something that's going to be either great or negative. And so every day when I get up in the morning, I do my best in order to instill in them and to make them become the positive children that I know they can be. And I'm seeing that, I'm seeing that every day. Every one of my children, all three of them, the ones that is in school, have AB honor room. And, that really makes me feel good because they're really representing. So just spend the time. But, I said a lot of things just then, but if you don't put nothing in, then you won't get anything out. And so you have to put something in as an investment. And I believe that you will get a good return on your investment.
Yes, and you are a good return on Jim Garrett's investment. And I can attest to that because I know where you were. And I see where you are, and it's totally, totally different. So my hat's off to you, sir, because I know that you are involved in your kids' lives and you're doing everything possible, with God's help to be the person that you didn't have. And that's, it's amazing. It's amazing. I've seen your kids act in public, and I can tell you, I know that you're doing it with love and a big heart. And not so much a rule thumb, all the time, because that kind of fatherhood don't work either. I've seen that. But, well, folks, you've been listening to Terrance Hurst, my friend. I have talked to him about telling this story of his one day in a book. We'll see what happens down the road, Terrance. But I know you're a big man of dreams, and that's awesome. But let's see here, Terrance. You have gained quite a few followers tonight on Periscope. We appreciate every one of you on Periscope and watching us live. Terrence is going to drop off, and then Ariel and I are going to give you some information. If you don't mind hanging with us just a minute, we're going to show you our Facebook page. So, Terrence, we release you, sir. If you need to go ahead and go to that child commitment that you have, I appreciate you, and we may have you back in the future once that book gets started. How's that?
All right. Sounds great. Y'all have a good night.
Nothing like putting you on the spot in live TV or live internet, right?
That's great.
Right.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. That's right. We get the first copy.
Yeah. All right. All right.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir, for coming in.
Hey, no problem.
Thank you,
Anytime.
Terrence.
All right,
Hey,
brother.
good
Let's see you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, folks, you've been listening to Straight Talk with Parents here tonight, and Terrance Hurst was our guest tonight, and he's going to be leaving out on a commitment, and that's perfectly fine with us because we know that particular situation you have to go through that. So, what I'd like to do, go back to Ariel, and I'd like for her to just show you our upcoming and growing Facebook page. Actually, it is really getting I don't know, some spotlight, I think, right? I mean, Ariel, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I love to share our Facebook page. So one moment, I will just share the screen so we can all see it live. And we'll be viewing this page because as I'm already logged in as admin, so we'll be seeing the page as you guys would see it, obviously without the notifications at the top. I've got some work to do today to follow up on some notifications. So guys, this is our Facebook page. As you can see, it is facebook.com/the straight talk, and basically all we are about is just helping dads, specifically dads, but also mums, to enhance and enrich and encourage connections with our children through daily confidence and courage. So this is basically our page. We are still very new, but just so you know, we are getting a lot of attention, we are getting a lot of likes here, and we're definitely getting a lot of notice in regards to what dads do, and we also like to focus on a story. So if you guys have a story, whoever's on the line, if you have a great story that you believe that needs to be told and needs to be heard, we would definitely love to learn and hear about you. So you can contact us on your page, on our page here, and you can sign up, or you can send both Keith or myself a message, and we'll get back to you about sharing or showcasing your message. So this is our Straight Talk for Parents Facebook page. So I'm just going to scroll through here, trying not to be too fast because sometimes the screen might have a little bit of lag here. So as you see, we have some videos as well, and we like to showcase dads all around the world, and we also like to showcase our talks every week, so you can follow us and know that the replay of today will be on our page as well as on YouTube as well, so you'll be able to view that. So every week we are here and we are talking to all dads all around the world and sharing their insight so they can help you and enhance and enrich your child's life. So I'm going to bring it back to Keith because I know he has some great, amazing little things to talk about and finish up our call for tonight.
Well, thank you, Ariel. We appreciate that. You're such a great co-host, and I just love everything that you're involved in down there in Australia. One day, Miss Glenn and I are going to come down and visit you. How's that? All right, so you like that, right? So we are excited about what February has lined up. I haven't even let Ariel know that we have coming up in next week. We're going to be talking about anti-bullying and some of the things that are going on in schools, and there's an organization that's out that's doing some marvelous things in the school system. We're excited about having that on, but we're still trying to confirm that. But sometime in February, she will be with us. But we also have Dr. Angie coming on there, and Dr. Angie's going to talk about healing agents and how you can go through a terrible, basically, disease within your body and still be a mom. So we're excited about having her and a couple of others I'm going to be working on. I will be leaving, Ariel, very soon. Actually, next weekend, I'll be down or over in California meeting about 1,000 great dads out there that are doing some marvelous things. So we're going to have a host of brand new folks to be interviewing in the near future. So I appreciate you folks for coming in and working on Periscope and watching us live right here on the Dads for Life Straight Talk with Parents show. That's what we're doing here each and every Monday night. And as my friend Ariel said, if you have a story to post that you want to send to us, or an idea, or somebody we might want to interview, send it to us and we'll be glad to, no matter where they're at in the world, because the internet connects us all. So until next time, this is Dr. Keith and my friend Ariel Wheeler.
Ariel Wheeler.
She's a little, it's dragging down there in Australia, right? A little behind, but the internet. But I tell you, I appreciate each and every one of you for coming in here, and we are growing, and we're excited about what we're doing here each and every Monday night. So until next time, Periscope, live viewers, and our ones that are watching us right here on Zoom, we appreciate each and every one of you. We will repurpose this on our page soon. So until next time, it's Dr. Keith and Ariel saying go out and encourage, enhance, and enrich someone's life today, but make sure we start with our children because they truly, honestly do need it the most. All right? We'll see you later, folks. Thank you for joining in. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.
All right.